Okay, the first question, everybody gets 90 seconds to answer. We start with Ron, and then it'll rotate on every other question. Recognizing every city needs some development to grow and stay healthy, Ron, how do you differentiate between development versus overdevelopment?
And let me ask you, are we
Yeah,
speaking
grab the
to...
microphone.
Mike, can you hear? Can you hear? You don't have to. It's fine.
Difference between development and overdevelopment is the question. The fact of the matter is that in order to have sensible development in a city, you've got to link that with transportation, you've got to link that with investment in infrastructure, and you've got to link that with transportation. What we have is a situation in Los Angeles where we are not doing proper planning in terms of land use, but also in terms of emergency services. We're not doing proper planning in terms of transportation. In fact, we're the only major city that does not have a comprehensive transportation plan, shockingly. And the fact of the matter is, and there are a number of people in this room who have also really taken the lead on this issue, that we are not investing in our infrastructure nor looking at the updating of that infrastructure. An example, 6,500 miles of streets in Los Angeles. Last year we were budgeted for 155 miles of repaving. This year, thankfully, that number has risen to about 175 miles of repaving out of 6,500 miles. So what we have is a situation where development is not being accompanied by those other actually essential elements. And I think that that's what distinguishes development from overdevelopment, that along with not following the rules. There are a lot of people who are not following the rules, and that has got to change. I'm going to make sure that that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, hard to go after Ron because I think he hit most of it, and I think we'll all say to some degree the same thing. Overdevelopment downtown would be a little different than overdevelopment in Century City because at least there they have some infrastructure. So you have freeways that go downtown, you have rapid transit that goes downtown. It's considerably worse for us because, especially in Century City, we have no good way to get there. We don't have the transit infrastructure. So even if you were open to doing that under some circumstances, and I think Century City in the middle of a residential area was never intended to become akin to Manhattan or downtown Los Angeles, even the way it has been, and getting worse and worse. But even if you were open to that, with this kind of lack of infrastructure, it's absolutely ridiculous. I would point out on some infrastructure points, I was a council member in West Hollywood and helped to found the city. And there you have a city where you don't have broken streets, you can't find a big pothole, you don't have broken sidewalks, you have virtually no graffiti because you have a great graffiti program that I started almost 20 years ago. And I think that can be done in the 5th District. But overdevelopment just makes it worse. We don't have any kind of infrastructure. We don't have the planning. We are supposed to track our infrastructure needs with studies that we don't produce. The city is very screwed up. And so what would already be overdevelopment is considerably worse because of lack of infrastructure. Thank you.
I absolutely agree with my two opponents to the right of me. Development needs to occur in tandem with infrastructure, and it's not just transit, it's our schools, it's public safety, it's everything that contributes to a quality lifestyle for all of us. If we're going to build development, we need to make sure there are seats in the schools for the children that will move into those development or those housing units. We need to make sure that there is appropriate transit to get people to and from where they need to go. And we need to make sure that there's public safety there to accommodate people when they need it. And unfortunately, I do agree that the planning has not been thought out. It has not been long-term. It has been piecemealed, and that has contributed to many of the issues that you are all fighting for, which is traffic, overdevelopment, not enough seats in our schools, not enough public safety to really address the concerns of the people in the neighborhood. It takes a balanced approach. It takes a long-term strategy. There is no quick fix to development. It is a very complicated, planning is a complicated issue. And there are many, many pieces that go into making it a good project or a poor project, a project that does not fit within the character or the scale of a community. So we need to take a balanced approach, which is how I have always spent my public service years, looking at something and being balanced and reasonable.
First, I want to thank the coalition for having the forum today. I'm certainly glad I'm here.
We would have talked about you.
This doesn't go against time. I basically agree with everything that's been said so far. We clearly need to follow a smart growth plan here. We have the population of Chicago arriving here in the next 20 years. They're estimating 3 million people arriving. So, no growth is not reality to me. We do need to have much better planning. I think that and I'm not going to just repeat everything everybody said. So I think that, growth has to come without the blight of billboards, making us look like a scene out of Blade Runner. It has to come without mansions springing up and straining against lot lines with retaining walls that look like they're going to fall down on somebody else's yard. And I think that we have to do all of this in an intelligent and in a coordinated way, which unfortunately has not happened, as probably most evidenced by the growth and infrastructure plan, which is for some reason, and I've asked people, elected officials on the council about this, no one can seem to answer why that has not happened, why we don't have that report coming out. The closest thing I got to an answer was, it's like a lot of things in the city, it just didn't get done. It needs to get done. We need to know where we're going. And one other thing about Century City I'll just mention is that we need to start thinking about some innovative plans like Trammell Crow is going to start and Westfield in terms of shuttles. We can talk about that more later with connection with transit issues.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. The question, balanced development. Balanced development adds to the quality of life of the district. Overdevelopment taxes the infrastructure and decreases the quality of life. We've all just commented on this. West LA division that services the majority of the 5th District has gone down from 240 officers down to 198 off and only 7 patrol cars out in the district. We were all just given a tax increase on our garbage fees to hire 1,000 additional officers. How many of those officers are coming to West LA? Approximately 0. So we're paying, we don't get back. We don't have a fire department that can actually match the needs of the residents. July 3rd, I was back, on July 3rd I was in Century City, a lady broke her leg, compound fracture, bone against the fabric. 19 minutes for Station 92 to get there. And it really crystallized what I've been saying for a long time, that we are cannibalizing our infrastructure for the benefit of a few large developers. At the end of the day, Century City, it was planned to have a freeway to go to it. The city never followed through, and I'm not sure as a resident I would have wanted one. But when you have development, it has to add to the quality of life. And I don't see any major project until our infrastructure catches up that it's going to add to our quality of life. And so I'm telling you, I will not support any major projects. Thank you.